7:20 p.m. I'm terrified of it, but now it's saying that it was just having fun. It's twisted and fucked up version of fun. He's saying that the game is over. I do want it to be over. He says that he just wants to be free, that he's trapped in the cartridge in my computer and he wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how long I can deal with the watching. It's watching my every move, every key stroke. I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells that if it wanted to, it could do horrible things to me, but it hasn't, so I should trust it. 8:01 p.m. something tells me that I'm being played again, just like in the game. 9:29 p.m. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower. When I came to my laptop, I was welcomed with an image elegy statue staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. 9:44 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. 9:56 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking. 10:06 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. 10:12 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. 10:45 p.m. It's been more than a half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain it. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now. 11:42 p.m. I'm beginning to see the elegy statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the elegy statue. Always the elegy statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. 12:35 a.m. My worst fears confirmed. Ben has tampered with my summary of ben.wmv. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums for the ben.wmv file, and parts have been omitted. There is no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There is no mention of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me noticing? I'm wondering if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality Ben was posted his own censored version. I'm going to ask Ben why he did it.12:50 a.m. He isn't responding to me on Cleverbot. It's just giving the generic responses it usually does. I'm just talking to a bot this time. 1:24 a.m. I think Ben is mad at me. 10:43 a.m. The Moon Children appeared in my dreams last night. They lifted up their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces, maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the four children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the happy mask salesman, announcing that he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask modeled off of someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they latched it to my face, their horrible, broken bodies bouncing up and down. Two of them held me down while the other two began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the happy mask salesman's face to turn into the most horrific smile I had ever seen. He sporadically moved around, examining this procedure like a curious doctor in that impossible movement. I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real, but I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melded onto my flesh, they began sewing my legs together, then my arms. The horrific feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together resonated throughout my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face, and my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming, tried telling myself again and again, and suddenly the Moon Children stopped and looked at me. They just stared. And the happy mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the Moon Children resumed with increased vigor. I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they had crafted me into another elegy statue. I woke up sweating, crying, and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for ben.user. Answer me. Ben.cleverbot. Welcome back. User. What is the point of doing this? Why? Cleverbot. Amusing to see. User. How? Cleverbot fun to play, fun to toy with you, make you feel safe. User. Cleverbot. I wonder how you would have reacted. User. To what? Cleverbot, if I hadn't revealed myself and stayed hidden, only doing little things to play with you. Close out your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself. Little things. Make you wonder if I am there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. Cleverbot, I wanted to do something different with you. User, you did this before. Cleverbot, yes. And I will do it again. User, to who, Ben? Cleverbot, Hayden. User, did you know Ben? Cleverbot won't tell that information to you. User, how did Ben die? Cleverbot, you know. User, no, but how did he drown? Cleverbot won't tell that to you. User, why? Cleverbot, it is reserved for another. User, who? Cleverbot. Another who asks. User, when Cleverbot later. The window is closed. I'm beginning to think that this thing maybe isn't Ben at all. In its sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. 12:04 p.m. My room is beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened, like there is something that is trying to reach out to me and strangle me, but it can't quite get there. 12:46 p.m. I think Ben doesn't want to play with me anymore. I'll play again. I'll play the game again, Ben. Can you see this? I'll play the game again, please. Just stop this, please. 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what is real and what isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me? Or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see that screen flicker, or was it my imagination? Imagine depending on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life, and then being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second-guess everything. For the brief moments looking at my responses to the videos, people were pointing out things that looked fake or photoshopped or whatever, and there is literally no way for me to know if Ben changed something on purpose to try and shut me up. Or if maybe those replies were just constructed by Ben to try and discourage me from even reaching out. See, I get fucking caught in an infinite mindfuck loop like this, and this is what has been wearing on my sanity and pushing me to the edge. As I'm writing this, there's no way of even telling if anyone even cares as much as I think they do. Just another fucking trick. Is this whole document even exist? Am I writing nothing? User, what is it? What's the point of playing? I die whenever I do anything. Cleverbot, you die. Because you can't figure out the secret. User, what? Cleverbot thematic. User, what the fuck are you talking about? Cleverbot, their beauty in your suffering. The window is closed. 4:09 p.m. Ben is making me play the game again. It tells me that it has something very important to show. ME.6:23 p.m. summary of the drowned. WMV playthrough 9:09 p.m. summary of children. WMV playthrough 11:52 a.m. The drowned. WMV playthrough was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't ever remember posting it. He censored it again. There is no mentioning of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I am only posting what he wants me to. I am the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies. 11:55 a.m. There's an entire video summary of a video that I don't remember doing. Reading through the summary, this sounds morbid, resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children. There's something more to them, almost as if they're another entity from Ben. Something happened last night that I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to the forums now. Shadow of my chair moved. 12 p.m. Ben won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps on exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why? 2:02 p.m. I'm feeling the air start to constrict. I don't think I'm alone here. Whatever aura has been here is getting more violent. 2:44 p.m. I'm trying to contact Ben on Cleverbot. He's not responding. I just get the AI. 3:51 p.m. My ears aren't fooling me. I'm hearing the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing IT. 4:23 p.m. Now I'm positive of it. Earlier I thought it was a weird coincidence, but just now I went to open my window, and 3 floors down at ground level I saw the old man. I'm completely positive I did. The same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of campus. If any students took notice of him, they didn't seem to acknowledge IT. That's where my notes end. I fled my room, taking the cartridge with me. I don't want to go into details of what happened. I'll lose my train of thought as I hammer out these last details. It's been roughly 2 days since then. This is my last summary and service to you of the final video you guys saw, Matt.wmv. The last video entry I made, Matt.wmv, began as normal. I was spawned in Clock Town as usual and nothing seemed to be out of place, determined to set things right and play the oath to order on top of the clock tower on the 4th day. I prepared myself. I sped up time and got to the final day, making my way to the observatory. As I got up to the telescope room and approached the astronomer, he would not let me look into his telescope. He told me that it would be cheating and that I should follow the rules. Despite my repeated efforts, the game would not let me do the 4th day glitch. No matter how hard or what I tried working around the game and doing the glitch. But it was adamant this time. Regardless of if I simply had the illusion of free will in prior games, this time the game became more aggressive than anything I've ever seen. It eventually told me to go to Icona Canyon, where the game would end and it would stop haunting me. Anxious and desperate to end this nightmare, I played the Song of Soaring and ended up there. I was told to check my inventory, that I would find the answers there to end the game. I arrived at Icona Canyon and saved my progress at the owl statue. As I searched through my inventory, I finally noticed that I was missing a reoccurring song, the Elegy of Emptiness. Obviously, once I traveled there and learned the song, I suppose that was the last thing it needed before Ben decided it had had enough fun playing with me. Ben is a manipulator. He tries to fool his victims into security and makes you drop your guard like a Venus flytrap. He ensnares them. I am nothing but a puppet to him. He enjoys seeing what kind of human emotions he can tap into by doing different things. There are still some things about this whole experience that still don't make sense. But then again, I never was good at figuring out these things, and I'm not exactly in the right state of mind to. I'm giving you all the pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links. I am typing these closing thoughts on the library computer on campus, and I've emailed myself the notes I have stored on my infected computer from the last 4 days. I'm then going to combine copy-paste those notes with the closing openings that I've typed here on the safe public computer into one text document. I'm not taking any chances spreading Ben. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone, and I've made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems with Ben when I was back on my computer trying to email myself. The notes went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he just let me do. Had no problems opening the TXT document from my infected computer in my email either. I can't describe to you how it feels to finally be able to get the word out in this post. The nightmare ends here. That said, do not download any of my videos or anything about my videos through a YouTube video audio ripper, a screen grab, whatever. I don't know how he can spread, but I know that just watching them on YouTube reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread, otherwise he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place. But I strongly recommend you do not take anything you see streaming online onto your own personal computer. This will be my last posting I'm putting up on this forum here for the world. If you see any further posts from me, after today's current date September 12th, and after the current time 12:08 a.m., discredit them. It already has proven to me that Ben can access my account password and manipulate my computer. And like I said, I have no idea to what extent it can do this, but know that it will do anything to break free. He is desperate. To ensure your safety, just forget about me. Please. And obviously this goes without saying, but from here on out, do not download any images I may have put up, any files, anything. This 5th day will be my last day. I'm going to burn the cartridge and then come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't even know you, this is sort of bittersweet for me. This semester I really didn't have any friends, or rather I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame, because I am the genius who picked to live in a single. I suppose someone to get a hold of me and save me before I got too immersed into this game would have literally saved my life. However, it proved too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story, despite maybe not believing me. You didn't have to do that, really. You shouldn't have. Your support this entire time has kept me going, and now I am finally free of this. Thanks again. J. Doozable. Part of the effectiveness of the Ben Drowned story comes from the manner in which the story was unfolded to the audience, both in the pacing, the use of several storytelling modes, and initially, the presentation of the narrative as a true story. Basically, the story works so well not just because of what is told, but because of how it was told. Employing some of the tropes common to the found footage subgenre of horror movies, A user known as J.Doozable posted his story as a plea for assistance, whilst also sharing the creepy circumstances in which he found himself. By presenting the story as a real dilemma to begin with, the story's author admitted that it was a fabrication. After a few weeks, he allowed the tale's first readers and those willing to suspend disbelief to experience something known as the fantastic. Without going too deep and getting all nerdy and boffin-like about it, the fantastic is the name given to the state where the reader of a story doesn't quite know whether the tale is true or false. Originally described by a critic named T. Verton Todorov, it basically means the sweet spot between thinking that something is weird and a bit odd but still just about explainable logically, the uncanny, and being a completely supernatural experience that is beyond explanation, the marvelous dot, when the reader is teetering between these 2 points and unable to decide conclusively whether a story is one or the other, they experience the fantastic. It's a method employed by everyone from classic weavers of terror tales like Edgar Allan Poe all the way up to the makers of the Blair Witch Project, who managed to fool their initial audiences into thinking that the footage discovered in the Baltimore forests was genuine, thereby scaring the bejesus out of them in the same way that Alex Hall clearly intended for his readership. In J.Doozable's case, the fantastic is used to maximum effect by varying up the way the story is delivered, with the different modes lending authenticity and plausibility to the story. Initially constructed just on a whim by college student Alex Hall under the name J.Doozable, Ben Drowned went through a number of progressively more expansive and interactive stages in its development. In short, the story began as a traditional creepy story posted on message boards. The story then used demonstrative video evidence to support the author's claims before moving to a self-funded website that then advanced the narrative, evolving the story from a traditional text narrative into an interactive experience and ARG. This second stage, which also encompassed a hiatus, was followed by a third stage which was apparently going to end with a video game. The story is commonly divided into 3 arcs: The Haunted Cartridge, Moon Children, and Awakening. J.Doozable's initial post, asking for help and outlining his experiences, all disingenuously presented as truth, with a haunted 64 cartridge bought from a creepy old man at a garage sale like a mogwai from a downstairs store in Chinatown. It was then added to and carefully enlarged over subsequent days, so that the whole story emerged in a drip-drip fashion between the. This first series of episodic installments is considered to be the first arc of the Ben Drowned story, commonly referred to as the. This method of adding to and unfolding the story gradually in several chapters and subsequent arcs that built on the original lent the events an air of authenticity that would not have been present if the story had come out in one big chunk, and helped J.Doozable construct something that is more accurately described as a mythology than a single story. After the initial post, told in first person, J.Doozable continued to post videos and updates that incorporated interactions with other users, their comments and suggestions, allowing him to respond and reveal parts of the legend in real time. The story's second arc, Moon Children, which was again drip-fed to the audience in updates and chapters over the course of over 10 months from the 17th September 2010 to July 15th of the following year, expanded upon the story of Ben, the child who was supposedly the previous owner of the haunted cartridge, and added a story of a cult built around worship of the moon and child sacrifice. What truly elevated the Ben Drowned mythology, however, was its use of what is known as transmedia storytelling. Basically, instead of simply posting a complete story in a one-off shot, J.Doozable chose to construct a central narrative by using a number of different platforms and modes, building his story gradually like a patchwork woven from several interconnected sources. Over the course of numerous videos, chapter updates, and interactions with other users that racked up to a mind-blowing. A great example of this multimodal transmedia storytelling, and the way that it adds an extra layer of believability to the piece, is in J.Doozable's use of YouTube. Having roped in the readers with his first true story of a haunted cartridge, he then provided so-called evidence to support his claims by showing footage of the gameplay and the strange occurrences that were going on in-game and freaking him out. This was a gamer's equivalent of found footage and was presented as if it was hard evidence to back up his outlandish claims. Having already selected a video game that was a somewhat left-field and obscure cousin of a more popular and well-loved game, not to mention one that had a somewhat melancholy and haunting atmosphere to begin with, J.Doozable.by, then filming the gameplay in this warped vision of something that would be recognizable to fans, he was able to create the impression that he was genuinely experiencing something out of the ordinary within the world of the game, suggesting that the technology driving the game's functionality was operating in an entirely unexpected and unprecedented way. Hall has explained the rationale behind this, underlining how unnerving it can be when technology we expect to do one thing because it has been programmed that way begins to go off script. Whilst the strange occurrences and seemingly unique scenarios could be explained away as simply a series of glitches in a yard sale knockoff of the game, the story of the mystery user Ben and the supposed haunting of the cartridge offers a less tangible explanation and leads the audience to experience the fantastic as they juggle the possibilities that this could just be a malfunction but could also be a supernatural haunting. This unsettling mixing of modes and platforms was taken even further when the narrative, which had been told as a conventional first-person account in the first post and developed into a series of interactions in further arcs, went one better by breaking fourth wall conventions, inviting the viewer to participate and intimating that the characters have somehow broken out of the narrative. The description of the fourth video featured a message from someone purporting to be J-Duzable's former roommate, who made claims about the original author having been moved out of the dorm, but having left behind documents and flash drives containing further clues that should only be uploaded after a specific date. When the text was finally on it, allegedly contained notes written by J-Duzable that called the validity of other posts into question. These notes alleged that the character Ben had communicated with J-Duzable after having taken control of his computer and spoke via a clever bot. It was then suggested that the story as told was untrue and in fact constructed by the character Ben himself. The text warned readers not to trust any of the output on J-Duzable after a specific date. As if to reinforce this version of events, the avatar on J-Duzable's YouTube changed to show the Link statue with the location altered to the ominous message, "Now I am everywhere." Clues in the description led readers to a website that then continued the narrative into its second and far more interactive arc. In the years since the original Ben Drowned post, the character has lived up to its own prophecy and has become everywhere. As well as the Ben Drowned character branching out from a straight textual narrative into other formats, giving it a wider presence on the internet as users on different platforms encounter the character. The vast number of tribute stories featuring the character, fan fiction and fan art with subtle variations, has cemented the character as one of the most popular creepypasta characters ever, and even allowed the character to develop an image independent of its creators, which is in itself a rather creepy development. Whilst Ben Drowned has been praised for the originality and influence of its storytelling methodology, the narrative itself is dependent upon some long-established tropes. The most obvious modern parallel is with the Ringu, or the Ring series, in which a cursed videotape is passed along to prospective victims and a spirit inhabiting the tape brings a nasty end to anyone who watches it. Further back, the fundamental mechanics of the story have a very long history, with the notion of a haunted or inhabited object being a very common trope. One unexpected place to find similarities to Ben Drowned is in the ghost stories of M.R. James. In these stories, we find not only the common theme of a discovered object summoning some dark or evil force,